Hello people, this is John Manimus Medeiros, and this is the second video in the write-in campaign for John Manimus for President, a protest vote against the two-party system and for election reforms. The purpose of this video is to explain in a little bit of detail why this project, this real democracy party, this revolution by vote, is not just another third party. A third party is like if you have a progressive party and you like them a little better than the Democrat, you vote for that third party, the progressive party, and that vote actually takes votes away from the Democrat and helps the Republican candidate. Likewise, if you have a very conservative party that you like more than a Republican candidate and you vote for that third party, that conservative candidate, it actually hurts the Republican candidate and takes votes away from the Republican candidate and helps the Democratic candidate. And you see, that's the craziness of the two-party system. Basically what it does is it suppresses the possibility of other parties, new political parties developing and growing and getting support over time. So here's the project, which I call the Revolution by Vote, which is sponsored by the Real Democracy Party. We'll have to have another video to explain exactly how this would work, but the most important thing for you to understand is that this ballot, if you cast a write-in ballot for John Manimus Medeiros, you're actually voting to retire the two-party system and force the implementation, compel either the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, or both of them actually, to adopt election reforms which will eliminate voter suppression and gerrymandering or vote capturing. So here's the 6 most important election reforms. There's actually 11, but here's the 6 most important one. First, courts only, judges only, can prevent a person from registering or disqualify a ballot. Instead of having election officials who are just appointed party members to look at a list and say, well, this one's no good, this one can't vote, this one can't vote because they were in prison or because of some address problem or who knows what. They make up these things as they go along anyway because they just want to discourage ballots to be counted from certain neighborhoods in their towns and cities. So we need a law that says only a judge can disqualify a ballot, and a ballot is one vote for one office. It's not just a whole list of votes for many different offices. And the only way a ballot could be disqualified is that the election agency, the election commission in your state, would have to bring a case to the court and have a judge decide whether or not the ballot is disqualified. There's different ways that we could do that, but it certainly can be done because we can do what we want to do. The second major election reform would be provision of IDs by the state agency, whatever it is, or the federal government. So if you need a voter ID, I mean, we have all kinds of identifying information all over the place, your credit card, your driver's license, student ID, your insurance, accounts you have at supermarkets and department stores have this information. And of course your Social Security, and many of these IDs require your verification of your birth, etc., etc. So that if you just sign a statement saying the government has access to all these things, they can have your complete identification. And if they want you to have a voter ID card, they will print it and provide it. And if it has to have a photo, they will provide the photo, and you won't have to drive 100 miles to go to this place to have your photo taken, all this stuff. The government has to provide your voter ID if a voter ID is necessary. The third would be non-party registration. This is very, very important because it's the party registration, most of all, that enables gerrymandering. Claiming that a district is either a Democratic district or a Republican district, it's because people are registered as being committed to the party, being a party member or party affiliated. And, we've got to face the reality that that contradicts the secret ballot. How can you claim your ballot is secret if you are announcing to the world when you register, I'm a Democrat or I'm a Republican, I'm going to vote Republican or I'm going to vote Democrat, that your ballot isn't secret anymore. So we need a law so you could have a choice. Either you're no party, but if you insist on being associated with a party, Democratic, Republican, or a third party, then your ballot's not secret anymore. When you cast your ballot, it's public because you made a decision that you didn't want a secret ballot. You wanted the world to know how you vote. Here's the fourth, obligatory voting. We have obligatory jury duty because we have a provision in our Constitution that says you are entitled to a trial by jury if you're accused of a crime. Well, that's good. I like that. I think everybody likes that. So how do we do it? Well, the only way we can do it is citizens have to be legally obligated to serve on a jury. And they are. In every state, you can be fined or even go to prison if you refuse or try to use deception to get out of jury duty. You can't do that. You have to serve so that we can meet that constitutional commitment. Well, we have another constitutional commitment that we made to ourselves in 1787. Article 4, Section 4 says, every state is guaranteed a republican form of government. Well, republican means res publica, it means rule of the people or by the people. It means self-government. It means majority rule. No one in their right mind would argue that a republican form of government means a little minority of wealthy people make all the decisions, elected or not elected, however this American nobility gets in their positions of power, whether they inherit them or get elected. And sometimes it's both. Um, Minority rule was not intended, and that's what we've had for 120 years. For 120 years, 60% of the people vote, and 30% of the voters choose the winner, between 30 and 33%. So a third, or maybe less than, a little less than a third of the people actually support the winners who get elected and exercise the power of government. So we have minority rule, and the two-party system protects it. So if we want majority rule, we have to have a system that motivates everyone to vote, and until somebody comes up with a better idea that makes it voluntary, it has to be able to be obligatory. You still can be free not to vote, but if you choose not to, you get a little fine. You get a $50 fine, a $100 fine, penalty you pay when you file your taxes. Why? Why do you have this? Like an agency fee. It's like when you're not a member of a union, but you get all the benefits that the union fights for. Medical benefits, time off, safety protections, and so on. Because that's what you're getting from your country. The Department of Defense defends you as well as everybody else. You drive the same highways or walk on the roads, and you benefit from public education. It's not just your children who benefit. Everybody you do business with has some professional skills, and that started with the public education. That's why they can do the things they do for you that you pay for, because they're educated and trained. You benefit from the utilities, the electricity, etc., etc. On and on it goes. So you're going to pay a little penalty if you choose not to vote. We need your vote. We need everyone's vote. We need between 90 and 100% of all the voters to vote in order to have majority rule, in order to have this res publica, this republican form of government that we guaranteed to ourselves since 1787. The fifth election reform is coalitions, ranked choice voting, and fusion voting. In other words, very simple to understand, uncomplicated election procedures or methods to encourage the development of new political parties to compete for taking the power of government. taking that power of government and exercising it for you the voters, for the people. You have to have political competition, and the two-party system obstructs, prevents any real political competition. If we have party coalitions between major and minor parties, if we have ranked choice voting and fusion voting, that means people can vote for a new party, and that new party will get a share of the power. Not just, oh, we'll put what you want in our platform. That's nonsense. It's just words. Nothing happens. If we have these three types of election techniques, party coalitions, ranked choice voting, and fusion voting, new parties will be able to grow and develop and compete and threaten the major parties. So if the major parties ignore you, they will have something to fear, that there's an alternative, that there are other parties we can vote for who will actually get the power, they will actually get elected to office, and the major parties who ignore you will lose their power and fade, and maybe even someday be replaced. That's what we have to have, because the system we have now, which we call the two-party system, does not compel them to do anything that the people want or that the working people need, because they don't have to. They get elected anyway, even when they ignore you. The sixth election reform is one that's been mentioned many times: registration by birth. So you're born, you're a registered voter. You can't vote till you're 18, but when you're 18, you report to the town. This is where I was born, this is where I live. I live here now, so I wish to vote here. And now you're registered to vote in the town where you live. And each time you move, you can just notify of your new address, and you're still registered to vote where you need to be registered, and get the information you need about where your polls are for you to vote in your district. So that's a beginning. If you don't fully understand that, if you can read, it's online at www.realdemocracyparty.org. There's an abundance of information published there. The next video will be about the question, or questions actually, maybe. How could this really work? And will the non-voters who are becoming new voters, who could become new voters by registering, people who are just turning 18, but mostly millions of people who don't usually vote. Do you know that it's actually about 94 million Americans who could vote, but usually don't? 40% usually don't vote. That's for at least the past 120 years. We've had our experiment with the two-party system, and we have the results. The results is minority rule, staleness, disaster. The two-party system has been getting worse and worse for the last 60 years, and it's extremely dysfunctional. It's a danger. It's a clear and present danger. So, in the next video, we'll talk about the question: what are you going to do? Do you feel obligated to vote? Will you respond to this attempt, this dream, this impulse to create a fourth option, to create a referendum on the two-party system for all those who don't usually vote, so that they could, if they choose, if they want to be good citizens for the first time and meet their minimal obligation to vote, they could have a revolution by vote for us, a gift to us, to help us make this transition from the two-party tyranny to a multi-party system that gives us majority rule. See you next time.